Did you know that President Andrew Johnson at first didn't support the Civil Rights Act?
He was concerned that Congress didn't have the right to pass such a law.
It all started when Congress enacted the Civil Rights Act in 1866.
To provide those born in the United States full and equal benefits of all laws and proceedings.
To make America a more racially equal nation.
Southern states were also opposed to the Civil Rights Act, but Congress overruled them with their express constitutional rights in Article 1, Section 5.
Congress rid themselves of radical Republicans by expelling them, so that the 14th Amendment had a clear shot into ratification.
The Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment is essential to us today because it provides civil liberties and equality to citizens.
An important piece of the Equal Protection Clause is equal racial justice under the law, which protects all races in the court system. The 14th Amendment is the most referred to amendment in the United States court system. One example is the case Regents of the University of California v. Bakke in 1978. The UC Davis Medical School had set aside 16 spots for minorities to address unfair minority exclusion. 16 candidates who fit that criteria made it into the school even though they had lower test scores than Bakke. Bakke wasn't granted admission and therefore launched a lawsuit saying that he wasn't admitted simply because he was white. The Supreme Court ruled that the university's rule of strict racial quotas was unconstitutional, but it also said that race could be used as one of the several factors in the admission process.
Lawful protection of marriage is another important piece of the Equal Protection Clause. In the case Abergefell v. Hodges in 2015, 4 groups of same-sex couples from Ohio, Michigan, Kentucky, and Tennessee sued their state agencies to challenge the constitutionality of the ban on same-sex marriage. The court held that the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment guarantees the right to marry as one of the fundamental liberties it protects.
This morning, the Supreme Court recognized that the Constitution guarantees marriage equality. In doing so, they've reaffirmed that all Americans are entitled to the equal protection of the law. That all people should be treated equally, regardless of who they are or who they love.
And that it applies to same-sex couples in the same manner as it does to opposite-sex couples. All states were required to issue marriage license to same-sex couples and to recognize same-sex marriages as valid.
Although every American supports equal protection under the law, African Americans were and are the most supportive of this amendment being passed. A piece of the 14th Amendment that is most important to them is the Equal Protection Clause. This is still relevant today as African Americans continue their fight for equal rights because they still feel like they're being oppressed by society. Eric Garner is a victim of police brutality who never got justice in the court and is one of the many victims that drive the equal rights movement today. On July 17, 2014, unarmed Eric Garner was placed in a chokehold after officers threw him to the ground. Garner pleaded to officers to spare his life, saying 11 times, "I can't breathe."
I can't breathe. 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 I can't breathe.
His case has gone viral because of the violent nature of his death and because the officer who killed him was not brought to court or even suspended from his job. It is believed that if Garner was a white man, the severity of the event would have been less. This case, along with many others, are why African Americans heavily support the Equal Protection Clause and continue their fight for equal protection.
Though there are many supporters of the Equal Protection Clause, some people believe that there are Americans that should be excluded from this equal protection under the law. Roy Moore is a Republican and a Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Alabama. He joined the race to become Senator of Alabama against Democrat Doug Jones.
This election highlighted his viewpoint about the LGBTQ+ community and how he believes they negatively impact society.
Sexual conduct should be illegal. Yes.
Should be illegal activity.
It is immoral. It is defined by the law as detestable.
I think in Obergefell, the United States Supreme Court opinion was a complete aberration of law.
In early November, a month before the election, sexual allegations against Moore were reported. Many Republicans called him to step down and others removed their endorsements.
Because of his harsh opinions about the LGBTQ+ community and how he belittles women, Moore lost the support of many people, and Doug Jones became the first Democrat to win the Senate election in Alabama in a quarter of a century.
The Voting Rights Act of 1965 preserves equal representation of voters in different legislative voting districts.
In 2012, the Alabama legislature redrew the state of Alabama's electoral districts with the goal of creating districts with a population deviation of only 1%. However, when evaluating redistricting efforts, courts traditionally allow 5%.
Alabama also tried to maintain the existing percentage of minority voters in each electoral district. Petitioners sued in district court and argued that Alabama's redistricting violated the Voting Rights Act and amounted to racial gerrymandering that violated the equal representation of racial minorities in multiple electoral districts.
The district court held that the petitioners had failed to prove that Alabama used race as a dominant and controlling factor in redrawing its electoral districts. They also ruled that Alabama's goal of maintaining the minority population percentages in existing districts was narrowly tailored to a compelling state interest. The Supreme Court noted probable jurisdiction to address the district court's application of existing legal principles.
The Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment is important to us today because it gives all citizens an opportunity for equality under the law. Some of the most important aspects of the Equal Protection Clause include
Equal racial justice under the law,
lawful protection of marriage, and the fight for equal rights.
However, there are some people who believe that not every American is equal under the law. As America grows into a more diverse nation, this clause increases its importance to all citizens.